Only about 10% of people who begin a weight loss journey and lose weight actually keep it off for good. While this is a sobering statistic, the question you have to ask yourself is, how can I be a part of that 10%? Well, today I'm going to show you exactly how to do so by walking through 4 do's and 4 don'ts in order to be successful. Let's begin with the 4 don'ts, aka mistakes that you must avoid. Mistake number 1, focusing on weight more than habits. When your entire focus, your sole focus is on getting to a certain weight, you'll do everything in your power just to see that number tick down on the scale every day. Now, there are 2 issues with this. Number 1 is that rarely are the things that you do just to lose weight at all costs sustainable. And 2 is that when you get to your weight, your ideal weight that you want to get to, what is your reason now for staying there? You achieved your goal, right? So what is the purpose now? What's the incentive for keeping up the habits that got you there in the first place? Now, the next one is something you might not expect, but mistake number 2 is not prioritizing rest and recovery. Rest is the foundation that all other healthy habits stand on. If that foundation falls apart, so too do the exercise and nutrition habits. So prioritize good sleep and relaxation each week. You can't pour into these new habits from an empty cup. Mistake number 3, only doing cardio. You might be watching this video live from the elliptical, in which case you've probably done enough. Staying on the elliptical for 2 hours and not doing any weight training is a mistake for many reasons, but the first one I'm going to bring up is going back to sustainability. Let's say you hop on the elliptical every day for 2 hours, and in that 2 hours, you're burning 1,000 calories, right? And you're starting to see progress. You're losing weight, and hey, you even get to your ideal weight. Okay, now what happens from here? Is it likely that you're gonna continue to stay on the elliptical for 2 hours a day? Probably not. And so while you used to burn 1,000 calories a day from that elliptical session, maybe you reel it in and now you're only burning 300 calories. That 700 calorie difference is going to come back to bite you. So hold off on ellipticaling for 2 hours a day and doing excessive cardio, and that's all you're doing. The main focus that we should have is getting to our desired result in a sustainable way so that when we get there, we can stay there. This leads me to the final don't. Mistake number 4, prioritizing intensity over consistency. 99% of people who fail don't see results because of a lack of consistency, not a lack of intensity. I define exercise simply as deciding to move. Now, I'm not talking about raising your arm. I decided to move. I exercised today, right? That's not what I'm talking about. But for example, deciding to take the stairs instead of the elevator, deciding to lift some weights, deciding to go for a walk, deciding to stretch, do some yoga. That is exercise. There's no threshold or duration where you cross over and now this is considered exercise, right? 29 minutes of movement doesn't count, but 30 minutes, now we're talking, now that's exercise. Everything else, that didn't count, that didn't matter. So set that mindset aside that every workout has to be the most intense thing ever or it's not worth doing, and focus on consistency. That leads me to the next point and the first of the do's. Point number 1 is start slow and build. Beginning a new exercise routine, particularly in the first month, is similar to pushing a boulder up a hill, and maybe that's your workout, I don't know. But the more intense the routine out the gate, the heavier the boulder.
That is a nice boulder.
Most people don't reach the top of the hill because their boulder is too heavy and it ends up crushing them. Their routine is far too intense out the gate and it comes back to bite them. However, if you start off with a moderate routine, something you can stay consistent with and that doesn't make you sore for 4 days in a row, that boulder is no longer a boulder. It's a small rock and you can push it up the hill, so to speak. So you're pushing your rock up the hill, you get 1 week under your belt, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you start to get the wheels turning, right? And you reach the quote unquote top. What happens now? Well, now you've built up enough momentum and you've started stacking enough small habits together that essentially your little rock becomes a snowball and you're able to push it downhill and continue forward from there. The point is, instead of making a drastic change overnight and eating unseasoned chicken breast every meal, focus on building small habits over time. As you stack those habits, momentum will work in your favor. Point number 2, let go of past norms. You gotta shake things up and ask yourself some questions. A great question is, for example, Do the things I believe and the things I've done in the past, do they help me now? Great example is finish what's on your plate. Many of us grew up with that notion, our parents telling us, finish what's on your plate, finish your food, make a happy plate. Great intention. Obviously, we don't want to be wasteful, but is that mindset helpful? If you've watched the TV show Everybody Hates Chris, you remember the father, Julius. Now, if you haven't watched the show, Julius was a penny pincher. He was known for saying things like, that's 86 cents worth of chicken. That's 12 cents worth of milk. You better eat that. That's 27 cents worth of cheese. That was Julius. And point taken. But the question you have to ask yourself is, what is the health tax that you pay for that mindset? Especially when it's repeated day after day after day. Is the cost of the food remaining worth more than the impact to your health from overeating? Is money in general worth more than your health? Of course not. And if you don't believe so, I'll prove it to you right now. Let's say I were to give you $10 million, but in that exchange, I give you the 10 million, you give me your health. You're gonna continue to go on living for many more years and decades, but you'll always have headaches, you'll have back pain, you'll have knee pain, you'll always be tired, you always got a cough, runny nose, you're sneezing, you just feel terrible, you have a fever, so there is no flu season. Your life is the flu, right? Are you taking that deal? I really would hope not. Guys, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. It's like, no. So, jokes aside, the cost to your health might seem small today, but you have to question your beliefs about health, the way you think about exercising, the way you think about eating, and ask yourself if that's gonna serve you in the long run. Point number 3, change your environment and raise your standards. Easier said than done, and this isn't gonna change overnight for most people. However, you gotta start asking yourself some questions here as well. What foods do I keep in my house? Who do I hang around with? Do they exercise? Do they eat well? What have I tolerated and what will I no longer tolerate? Here's a mindset shift for you. McDonald's isn't worthy of you. Yeah, that's right. That food that isn't really food, it's not worthy of you. Now you might be saying, hey Devin, I like the Big Mac. I like the Bad Bunny meal. I like the Travis Scott meal. And hey, fair enough. But I think the real fear, the underlying worry here is that most of us don't want to be seen by other people as we think we're too good, right? We're too cool for school. Oh, Jessica thinks she's too good for us now. Kim thinks she's too good for this. Okay. And we don't want to be put in that light as being too uppity. But I would argue there's an even greater fear that we should have, an even greater worry that we should have. And it would be this: running into an old friend you haven't seen in years and having them say, you haven't changed a bit. Well, dang, what have I been doing all this time, right? Now, again, most of us are not going to make this change overnight where suddenly everything will be perfect, but start doing an analysis. Start finding those opportunities where you can change your environment and get around people who are making their health a greater priority, who are, elevating their standards and therefore elevating you, and you are elevating them. You're progressing forward. Here's a simple question you can ask yourself. If how today went was repeated tomorrow and the next day and the next week and the next month and year and decade, where would I end up? And would I be happy about that? If the answer is no, make a change. The days will change when you make a change, and you will make a change when you change your environment and raise your standards. Point number 4, lift things and move your body. There are so many opinions out there about what is the best exercise, the most optimal exercise for losing weight. Let's keep it simple. Lift things and move your body. Lifting things is obviously key for building muscle and boosting your metabolism. Let me give you a simple example to make this clear. You have 2 people. They both weigh 200 pounds, exact same weight. They're chilling on the couch, but one has more muscle, less body fat, and the other has more body fat and less muscle. The person with more muscle is going to be burning more calories, chilling on the couch, watching TV, Netflix and chilling, whatever it is, just because they have more muscle. So what does that mean for you in your weight loss journey? Now it means you have a friend in the fight, so to speak. Your body is working for you to aid in burning more calories as opposed to working against you. So that's why lifting weights and strength training is important. Next piece is move. Now, me personally, I'm a fan of simply getting steps in, just going for a walk, keeping it simple. And you might be asking, well, Devin, how many steps per day should I be doing? Should I be doing 10,000? Pick a number that you can do every single day. 5,000 steps a day, every day, is far better than 10,000 steps a day, 2 days a week, or 3 days a week. Think about it this way, and this concept comes from the book, The Hidden Messages in Water. What happens when water is still and stagnant? It starts to become bacteria ridden and it smells like rotten eggs. And it just so happens that the majority of our body is made up of water. And so what do you think happens when day in, day out, we're sitting down, we're chilling, we're not moving a whole lot? Well, you might start to smell like rotten eggs. And so again, get your body moving. Don't overanalyze. Don't focus so much on everything being perfect and optimal. Get your body moving. Don't be still and don't be stagnant. If you will avoid the mistakes we've talked about today and do the things I've shared with you, your health will never be the same. You will be in the 10% who lose weight and keep it off. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper, I have videos on how to get your nutrition in order in a more specific way, how to stay consistent with exercise, and much else. So those videos will be linked here and in the description, along with my entire Nutrition 101 and Exercise 101 playlist. So check them out. I will see you in the next video. Until then, stay blessed by the best. Peace.